Let's just start with the recent storms that have left many still without internet after more than a week. What happens when this kind of weather occurs, especially when it's unexpected? When it hits the county, what does the county have to do?
Well, this is what we do. If we think something's going to happen, and all credit goes to our emergency management department, Joshua Hawkins and company, they pre-plan for every emergency that can possibly happen. And so we track the weather really every day. They do. And so we know when it's coming. Plus we have close relationships with meteorological agencies that send us reports. It could be the reports we get from Duke Energy, the National Weather Service, all of those. So we have some idea. We may not know the gravity, but we have some idea something's coming. But we have contingency plans on how to address this. We will man the Emergency Operations Center if necessary, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as it takes. Our roads and bridges crew are prepared for these things. I think the first day after the storm, we removed 80 trees from the roadways. Our roads and bridges people and our facilities people were absolutely outstanding, on the job, working very, very hard to clear the roads, to make everything as much as they could make it better. So that's what the county does, and we will continue to follow up. Right now, you may have seen a note from our assessor. We are going to see if we can qualify for a special federal emergency relief. And I advise everybody, if you have storm damage, to get in touch with our assessor's office and let them know so they can come out and do an assessment for two reasons. One, we may be able to qualify for some funds that can assist these people, special loans, but also can impact your tax bill. So you need to do that. I can't stress that enough. And we're set up to do that. We know how to do that because we've practiced it and tried to do it. And naturally, all the county leadership, I started that day, and everybody started way before me, but I started at 2:00 that night, and we pushed it until, we saw some relief starting around 5:00 or 6:00, getting everything cleaned up. But we're geared for that. People don't know that that's what the county government does. Plus, we provide assistance to other towns. But the hardest hit area was really the city of Anderson, and also the town of Honeypath had some severe damage. So we were on it. We prepare for it. If we could make it not happen, we would, but we try to make everybody's lives better as fast as possible.
When you mentioned downtown Anderson, a lot of roof damage to some of the older buildings. Did the historic courthouse renovation fare okay?
It did, and we're so thankful for that because we were kind of not in the eye, but there were 75-mile-an-hour straight line winds. The National Weather Service hasn't said it's a tornado yet, but 70-mile-an-hour straight line winds, that's pretty rough stuff. But no, everything was here. The scaffolding held. The new roof, we haven't put the decorative tiles back on, but the new roof held very well, so it came out all right. We did very little damage that you could see on county buildings. Now, we did have some flooding with some of our sewer operations, but our sewer crew was out at the same time taking care of that to make sure everything flowed very well. So we did that. So
that was my next question. So the county buildings held up okay?
Yes.
What's the timetable looking like? Are they still on schedule to finish the courthouse here, the historic courthouse?
I talked with the construction people the day before yesterday, and I said, every time that y'all start to move, you get hit with bad weather. So allegedly August, but with the number of rain days, that's a goal. But they have been hammered with bad weather ever since this project started.
And you mentioned that this is just what the county does. So there's money in the budget when things like this happen to move and to take care of things, right?
We don't just decide to do it that day. There are contingency plans for just about anything that can happen in the county. That includes if something happens at the nuclear plant in Oconee County, if we have bad weather, just all kinds of different things that we can do. If there's an outbreak of some kind of disease, and we're constantly training and constantly working with these people, our people, to make sure they know what to do. And then naturally we coordinate with the public works with the different towns in the county to assist them because we have more capability and more larger machinery.
Well, speaking of the budget, the council's working on it right now. They passed just in name only the first reading so they can stay on track. What are the biggest challenges in this year's budget?
The biggest challenges is making sure that our law enforcement people are paid accordingly. That's one of council's number one goals. Health, safety, and welfare being the three top priorities. So that's one of the things of which they will do. And we're also waiting to see what the state budget is going to do because we've got some assistance in the state budget that we're hoping to get, and hopefully we'll know that by the end of June. So we're kind of here waiting to see what they're going to do, and they've been very good to us. So we're going to see where that goes.
Well, they seem to do this every year, cause the counties to have to hold their breath waiting.
But their deadline is June 30th, just like ours is. And they have things to go. They have to get budget estimates from their economic advisors and all of that stuff. So it's not something they're trying to do to make people's lives hard. It's just they're dealing with the same thing that we are. But it'll all come together before the legislated deadline of June 30th.
Well, for people who haven't done a deep dive into the county budget, what are the big ticket items? What are the things that cost the most?
Law enforcement is one of them. Solid waste is another one. As you know, we run those convenience centers, and we pick up all the garbage, and we provide the landfill, the C&D landfill, construction and debris. That's a very large organization. We also are in charge of making sure people don't litter. We're also in charge of cleaning up litter, and usually that's in horrible locations. So those are some big items. But if you took one as the biggest, it would be law enforcement. But then we have other ones. Our Roads and Bridges Department, we have a great number of people there, which are absolutely vital, especially from last week. And they're always out working. And they're also, in addition to doing paving and doing things, they go out and try to find low spots and see if we can do something before the heavy rains come that we won't have a problem with that. Those are really the biggest ones we have. And naturally, personnel is the largest thing in the budget, sheriff, us combined. But we still, for a county of this size, not my numbers, we still run with fewer employees than other people our size because we do like to run. Council wants us to run lean and efficient, and thank goodness we have a lot of Anderson County employees who have been here for a long time, know the drill, still have a passion for the job and love public service. So that allows us to do a lot with not as much as other ones.
What does county have to do based on the growing population to meet those services without raising millage? I'm assuming $1 still buys $1 worth of services.
Well, $1 is not $1 yesterday, and it'll be a different amount you can buy with that dollar. But we have been blessed with growth that allows us to take care of some of this. Also, being lean and frugal helps us to deal with this. So it's a balancing act, but you don't want to put a burden on people's taxes. One of the great things that we have is because of the number of industries that have come in, that's provided more income for the county, a whole lot of income. And so that's basically it.
How critical is the road referendum in November to the future roads in the county? I know council's leaving it up to voters. What do they need to know about the cost of roads and what happens if this doesn't pass?
Two things. The state is doing a lot of paving in Anderson County right now. Whitehall, 29, a whole lot of other places that the state money is now showing up big time in Anderson County, and I think it's visible. But if somebody told me it really doesn't matter unless they're paving the road in front of your house. But the other thing is, we already know in the state budget, one of the things that we're waiting to happen, I think we're going to be blessed with more money from the state to put on county roads. $9 million extra is what I'm thinking right now. Another significant development on the road tax. Right now, the way the law reads is that it is a tax on everything, including food. There is a bill, it's already passed the Senate, thank Senator Gambrill for his hard work on this, that we will have the road tax, but it will not apply to food and beverage, which is a key consideration. Will it reduce the amount of money the county gets? Yes, but it will not be a burden on people to eat and drink and things like that. Now, that is in the Senate. It has passed the Senate. It's going to go to the House Conference Committee because the Senate has a budget, the House has a budget, then they pick House members, Senate members, and they go into conference and they iron out all the details. So we're hoping that that's going to be the case for two reasons. One, Greenville County is doing a referendum too, and they, just like Anderson County, don't want it to apply to food. So our two counties are working on that. Charleston, they'll tax anything, okay? But all you have to do is change one word from will to may, and then that would give the county council the ability to take it off food and beverage, which they would do. So that's where we are. But if we don't have that, the roads are going to continue to deteriorate. It's just a fact. It's just a bona fide fact.
But if you take food off of it, and it does reduce the amount, it just slows down how long it'll take to catch up. It slows down
how long it will take, but it still will be a significant amount of money that we will be able to address the roads with.
Have y'all figured out how much you'll lose from food?
It could go down to 30, 25. We're still doing those estimates.
Speaking of roads, Anderson County just completed the Great Anderson County Cleanup. Looks like they picked up almost 5,000 bags. How busy has the litter officers been and the convenience centers been?
They're always busy, but during that Great American Cleanup, thanks to Greg Smith and his people, it's a big thing. I've said this many times before. We have litter officers. Now we have codes enforcement, which we've combined with litter officers, that allows us to attack a lot of these dilapidated houses so we can, address the litter situation the same time that they're either being condemned. And again, the Sheriff's Department, thanks to them, they have 2 crews dedicated to picking up litter in hot spots. So, but nothing's going to change until people quit throwing stuff out the door. Nothing's going to change. You got to quit throwing stuff out the window. You got to quit putting trash out on the side of the road. I mean, we're paying for people just being selfish, is what I call it. Absolutely selfish.
And I know you've talked about this, and Greg Smith and the officers have talked about the frustration of there being too low limits for people who repeatedly litter. They don't have to pay for it, really. Dumping and littering, it's not.
Well, one thing, you can't issue bench warrants right now, okay? I'm not going to court. You don't have a bench warrant, I'm not coming. And then I will say this, our magistrates have gotten better about making people pay for littering. I think the consciousness about it and the importance of it has reached such a level that they are doing more to punish these people.
Are recycling numbers going up?
Recycling numbers are good. And again, we're one of the few places that still recycles glass, at least in our area. And the numbers are good. They can always be better because all of the stuff that we get, and I've said this 1,000 times, we sell that to keep down the amount that people pay for solid waste department. Cardboard is still the number one item that we can. Aluminum is good and steel is good. Those are the ones. Plastic and bottles, not so much, but thank goodness, because of our solid waste department, they have found people who will buy these items. We still have a problem with tire recycling, and we have been working with the state legislature to help us do something. We get X amount of money to do away with tires. It's not enough. It is absolutely not enough. And you need to find either the manufacturer or who sells them or something to find a way to make it easy for us to recycle tires and not put that burden on the taxpayers in general. So it didn't get through this legislative session, but we're primed for next legislative session.
Anybody who's been down to that facility in Iowa where you do the tires, it's just overwhelmed almost.
Yes, it is.
And also there's people that throw their tires out on the road 50 feet from the human nature, huh? The county added more than 250 jobs since last time we met, 200 from the Smurfit Kappa. It was the biggest announcement, I guess. How did that group choose Anderson County, and how does their presence help diversify manufacturing?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because you have a situation. Let's take Electrolux, okay? A longtime member of the Anderson County industrial family.
And they just donated something to the community at AIM yesterday.
And they always donate things to AIM. But they had 3 shifts, okay? Now, because of market fluctuations, they only have 2 shifts. They did not lay any permanent people off, but some temporary people lost their jobs. So whenever somebody says, we have enough industry, you have enough industry until somebody goes, you know as well as I do that they're closing Red Lobsters all across the country. If you worked there for 20 years, you might be looking for something to do. Capitalism is the best system known to mankind for allocating resources. It just absolutely is. But it's also a destructive process. If you're not making it, you're not going to be here. So you have to maintain the number of jobs. I think our unemployment rate's around 3.2%. And people said, well, that's too low. Well, you and I remember when it was 12%. I'd rather have in the 3s any day of the week. And it seems like these companies are coming here and they're finding people to work.
And you just broke ground yesterday for
another company over there, and we've got more that we're going to be fixing to do, because you never know when somebody's going to close their doors. You just don't know.
And Michelin just announced another $58 million investment, 51 jobs. And I think it's overlooked sometimes. They talk about the county recruiting industry, but retaining those companies once they're here, how much of a challenge is that?
That's because we specialize in assisting companies that are here that request it, or we find out about it, because if you request it, we're going to do everything we can to help you. If we happen to know or have connections or something like that, then the county is going to work with you in any way, shape, or form to help you be successful. Getting it is when you have the fun, you have the announcement. Making sure you have good relationships with all the major employers, even the smaller employers, because we don't make a difference on who's who. If you've got 5 people and there's something we can do to help you, we're going to do it. So you have to do that.
And the international companies particularly will just pick up and leave if they don't get serviced right.
Absolutely.
Just shop around.
Yeah. I mean, you're dealing with companies may have 50 locations worldwide, They know how to move and groove, so we want to make sure we take care of our people.
Any other big announcements on the immediate horizon soon?
Well, we have some announcements. To me, tourism, industry, all of that's economic development. And we're hoping to get a letter today from the state that will allow us to proceed with the cleanup of the Equinox Mill. And we are on pins and needles to see if we get that letter, because then we will be able to clean up that entire old mill site and turn it into housing. And it will be a beautiful part of Anderson if we get that letter today. And I'm hoping we do.
The cleaning it up's one thing, but being able to extend downtown that way, and the whole vista downtown will change once Equinox is cleaned.
When you start moving, there's 2 projects. One that we partnered with the city on right across from the farmer's market.
Right?
Yep. And then Equinox right there. It will be moving in that direction. And we're also aware that this has happened in some other places, that it will be housing of all types. Not just flat out gentrification where you buy up this land and then you run all the poor people out, okay? Because we have a
Like happened in Greenville. So.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning names, but like we have a problem, and everybody does, with affordable housing. So we make sure that that's a component of everything that we do.
And that workforce housing is critical to.
And I hate to call it workforce housing because it just has a bad connotation to me. I like to call it affordable housing.
Yeah. It's just what's affordable now.
Yes.
You mentioned tourism. The towns have been humming since last time we met. Spring Jubilee, Chili Cook-Off, Soiree, Star Spring Festival, Ivy Spring Depot Days, County Fair. How important are these events just to the county in general, whether it's economically or just from a sense of place?
It's a sense of pride for each one of those towns, and I attended several of them. And there'll be one Sunday. Rhythm on the River will be Sunday, had to be rescheduled because of bad weather. So that will be Sunday afternoon at Dolly Cooper Park. That's going to be spectacular. It was last year. And it's just a sense of pride, a sense of place, and gives people something to do. What you have in Anderson County right now is you have people screaming for recreation and entertainment. That's what people are really looking for. If we had a magic wand, we could build 100 pickleball courts and they would be absolutely filled right now, because we get calls all the time. Well, we need more pickleball courts. And then you get into the battle between the pickleball people and the tennis people. Well, those tennis courts, I didn't see anybody playing over there last week. You could put there, yeah, but then, so it's fun. As a matter of fact, we're getting a grant from the South Carolina Tennis Foundation to encourage young people to play tennis. And specifically, disadvantaged communities to get them to take up tennis. So we're kind of excited about that.
Well, and even though pickleball is sort of the trendy thing right now, tennis is again one of those sports you don't have to have a lot of money to play. You
No,
had courts.
no. And
There used to be a lot of municipal courts in Anderson.
Yep, but when we get this grant, we'll be able to provide some of that equipment. No cost to the taxpayers of Anderson County.
And that, speaking of that, talking about outdoor things, Belton is adding that kayak paddleboard kiosk soon for those who want to enjoy the Saluda River but can't afford a boat.
I think that is, and that's a beautiful stretch of river. But another thing, Pelzer, the dam at Pelzer, the private power company is doing the portage now. It's under construction right now. So you will be able to go past that dam and go on down towards Williamston, which we're very excited about. And that private hydroelectric company is doing that. So that will, it will increase the ease to continue to keep going down the Saluda River.
And that sort of brings me, I was going to say that we got the Saluda River Rally coming in just a couple of weeks as well. And there'll be some changes this year because of that.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they're working on that. That stretch won't be open this year. But
yeah, and we have some rudimentary trails at the 28 acres that the county bought. The trails that are there, they were done for free for us, but they're primarily trails to allow us to work towards our ADA goal of making those accessible to everybody. But now we have some paths that we can get around over there.
Well, then there's the Piedmont Nature Reserve. Where's that? What's the latest on that?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the one you're talking
about. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that piece of property, people who've not seen it, is very unusual. You don't feel like you're in Anderson County.
You feel like you're somewhere else.
And you're talking about the lake, and let's talk about Broadway Lake for a second, because y'all recently did something. They made life jackets available out there to swim, but the county also recently imported somebody to help control weeds that are choking off some of the lake. Remind people what y'all did and what problem it solves.
Well, we work very closely with Friends of Broadway Lake and the residents of Broadway Lake because that is a county lake. Okay, we don't share that with the Corps of Engineers.
It used to be the big lake in the upstate.
Yeah, but we don't share that with the Corps of Engineers or anybody else. It's our lake. And so the invasive weeds were taking over again. So the county, working with DNR, Councilman Davis, Councilman Elgin, what do you think you want here, the alternatives? And the people there said, we want those carp back. So we got a bunch of carp who eat all of that vegetation.
Big fish too.
Big fish. And so they're busy cleaning up Broadway Lake right now as fast as they can.
They work cheap too, don't
Yes, they work very cheap.
Any chance that it's going to need to be dredged again out there?
It needs to be dredged right now, but to do that dredging, it probably costs $35 million. The last time it was dredged when Congressman Butler Derrick was in office, and he got an earmark to dredge it. That was the last time it was dredged. And you get a lot of silt coming in that area. So a solution has to be figured out on what to do with that, because that time's coming.
Yeah, you can see it when you're out there now.
Yes.
And but that McFalls Landing and the Gracie Floyd Center is booked a year in advance still.
People want the Gracie Floyd Center. I mean, as you know, sometimes we rent out 3 times a day, and easily we'll rent it out for a day event and a night event.
And Green Pond's in prime time now. Just had that huge college championship. Anything else coming immediately?
Well, we have a tournament this week for local people and people who aspire to reach higher levels on the bass circuit. Last week we had one of our favorite events. It was for military veterans, and you had to be in the military, former military, or an employee of the Department of Defense. If you weren't that, you couldn't participate. So we had a lot of veterans fishing out on Lake Hartwell, and we were really excited about that. And then we have, as a matter of fact, there's a meeting going on today with Vets Helping Vets, our Anderson County Vets Helping Vets. Got to mention something else about them, about helping them with the tournament to put on to raise money for them to build their new facility. But I will tell you this, Vets Helping Vets, our Anderson County group, they've organized litter teams. And if you see a bunch of guys out on the side of the road picking up litter, it's Vets Helping Vets. And they just do it. Well, they cut everybody's grass that they can to help people out, and they don't charge for that. And so now they've taken on cleaning up Anderson County, picking up litter. I mean, what an organization is that?
Yeah, that's what makes things work here. Meanwhile, talking about that, any other event kind of things at the amphitheater out at Green Pond? I know you.
Well, you have Meals on Wheels with their big event coming up.
Right.
I don't remember the exact date on that. And that's the biggest thing going on right there right now. But we're also working, there's a bunch of things in the works right now. It seems like more and more people want to do more and more things in Anderson, so we're excited about that.
You got it electrified, so we talked one time. You talked
We're
about
still in
bringing
the process of
concerts.
in the process of getting
so that's what's holding up the
we
concert.
haven't identified the funding source for that, and I know that there's some money out there that we could use, but it wouldn't come out of Anderson County's pocket.
Well, and speaking of concerts, the Civic Center has added a new concert series, the Legends concert series, runs through October and is finally bringing some variety out there.
I'm looking forward to that. And people say, well, they're tribute bands. And this is interesting to me, okay? A lot of the bands that are touring that are the bands may have one living member.
And they're barely hanging on.
So where's the tribute band coming in? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these are very good. A lot of them have good track records. And people love them. Other places have been doing that, and I'm looking forward to that.
Well, sells out all the time.
And that's 4 weekends, and so we're looking forward to that. And so that's going to be more entertainment out there. So we have some other things. Celebrate Anderson this year coming up. We're going to have a free concert for Saturday night before the big concert on Sunday. So we're looking forward
Who's
to
coming on
that.
Sunday? Do we know yet?
Not yet. I would tell you, but we don't know yet, to be honest.
Well, back to the Legends thing too. One of the other things about that is it's affordable for people. They aren't $70 and $100 tickets.
No, it's reasonable for a family to go and have a good time, and that's what you need. You don't need exclusive events just for people who can pay $200 a ticket.
And you talked about the importance of that. Is there any decade-long plan to ever bring an indoor auditorium here with a stage and stuff? Anderson seems to be missing that. Other communities.
There was a meeting with people yesterday about Performing Arts Center, just kicking around some ideas.
With AU?
Possibly with AU, possibly with a private entity. But yet the discussion took place on that yesterday. But one person doesn't want to take on that whole task. But I think Anderson, with its own version of the Peace Center or something like that, would go over very well. But I mean, you look at the Opera House in Abbeville. They have something there almost every night and day. Newberry Opera House. No, we replicate that. Walhalla, which I know you go to a lot. I mean, those places pack
Spartanburg
out.
Memorial Auditorium is small, but it packs out all the time.
And they packed out. So that's one thing that I think Anderson County's lacking, and I think it would be very well supported.
It is something we have been missing. Farmers Market's been open several weeks now. Any update on how the spring market's going? It looks pretty crowded.
Farmers Market, Shenandoah Meadow does a great job. It's going to be another banner year, maybe our best year yet, but last year was our best year yet, and the year before that was our best year yet. There's a big desire to go to farmers markets these days, and so we support that. Council makes sure everything's taken care of, so we're looking forward to that.
Have we outgrown the facilities at times?
There's a possibility that sometime we may have to look in another direction. But outgrowing a facility is good. But people need to realize that we use that other than just for the farmers market. People rent that out for car shows, for family events. It's a venue that's available to the people in Anderson for a very reasonable price. Now, it's a farmers market. Spring, summer, and fall, it's perfect. Winter, a little cold there, but it's available.
Any chance you could do a farmers market app that just told you when the summer tomatoes were there?
No, but I have somebody who calls me as soon as they're in. That's the number one question in the whole world.
It is when the summer tomatoes coming in. Guy told me second week of June were the earliest ones, so he told me the other day. I guess finally, early voting begins for the June primary next week. And we've talked about this in the past. Any chance the county will add voter registration booths at the farmers market or some other events or something?
That would be done by the election commission. And the election commission has a board. And that board is appointed by the legislative delegation. And if they would like to put up a place to register at the farmers market, we would invite them to come all day long. And they're very agreeable and they work very hard. The director there is very user friendly. So, you know, if somebody would suggest that, it would probably happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the, like I said, one of the friendliest groups. I've watched them work with people who walk in there lost and they're like, but I think they're game for it. That's why I think, getting them at that in events.
Well, she goes around the county and talks to people in groups about what they can do, how to do it, and things like that. So, yeah.
Anything else going on we haven't talked about?
I think that's enough for today, but we don't know what the afternoons are going to bring, so it ought to be filled with fun and frolic.
So we should know about equinox next time.
I hope to know today. I'm really hoping that we get that letter today.
And that letter will tell you if you got the tax credit or?
That's exactly what it will tell us. And I'm also have some wonderful news that's going to happen in the Honeypath area, but I can't release that yet. And we also have, and not me because I'm keeping it a secret, and we have a wonderful announcement that's going to be coming up in Belton pretty soon, so we're excited about that. We're excited about the oil mill property being cleaned up. We're very excited about that. And
It looks so much better.
it looks so much better. It's just, and you don't realize how big that area is until you go see it. I told you about what's happening.
The Shady Mills up there looks good. If you looked at what they've done up there already, it looks
Oh,
pretty
it looks
good.
very good. County participated in that. And so we're very happy about that. There's a lot of good things going on in Anderson County. Are we having issues with growth? Yes, we are, but at least we're not having issues with no growth, or we don't have anything for our people to do.
And we can hear it in the background the entire time we've been talking.
Absolutely.